Good afternoon, family and friends, and all the tribal people across this great nation we call Turtle Island, and also to all the civilians of this country. We have a very important notice to share, but also to notify the establishment called the Government of Canada and the system that is being operated under, and that they hold the tribal people in trust. So, notice to the heirs of Queen Victoria's bargain of 1835. The bargain with Queen Victoria and heir present King Charles III and the future heirs. Therefore, let it be known from this day forth, the Canadian Corporation Registration Number 000230098, currently named the Federal Government of Canada and all federal departments and its agencies and agents affiliated with the de facto institutions in dealing with the sovereign tribal peoples, are hereby null and void, which includes all the contracts and any agreement. The created trusteeship for our sovereign tribal peoples have failed through the contracted public program services within the federal, provincial, and territorial public governments, including the administration of the Indian Act, the Chief and Council, and affiliate system, a factor that has led our tribal peoples into a genocidal state and in destitute with unacceptable and horrible living conditions. The sovereign signatory tribal Dene people, nor other signatory tribes, have never ceded nor surrendered their territories to Queen Victoria nor her renewed bargain of 1835. Therefore, our ancestors would not agree to cede and surrender their future generations' land for resource development. The development of our lands for resources that have destroyed the land's air and water, and this is on record and well documented today in both oral and written languages of our tribes in this nations and country called Canada. Therefore, all laws, acts, and legislation and statutes generated to obtain our sovereign signatory names and resources held in trust are no longer applicable to our tribal peoples and governance under international world law. Not forgetting the authority of the Great Spirit and our grandmothers and ancestors in the spirit world. The sovereign tribal signatories are the true power and authority as was recognized in the past as such until the takeover via modern agreements surrendering to a public government. And the power and authority also includes the clan mothers in each territory. Therefore, all lands, water, animals, including trust accounts held for the sovereign tribal peoples and heirs, are to be returned and entrusted back to the sovereign tribal governments or any tribal governments existing. Therefore, let it be known from this day forward that de facto Government of Canada, registered to the USA government, or Justin Trudeau as Prime Minister the Privy Council or Parliament members via political parties of Canada cannot speak nor make decisions regarding the sovereign tribal peoples or lands under international laws. Therefore, all Indian and Northern Affairs Canada, First Nations bands, Métis associations do not have the authority to cede and surrender traditional sovereign lands due to not having international signatory status. These societies are only an administration and an administrative arm of the federal government and are therefore in conflict of interest. Therefore, you are all notified of all decisions and actions that you can be held accountable, citing treason and genocide, including a call for Nuremberg No. 3 trial for the tribal peoples of this country. A complaint of genocide against this Corporation of Canada is forthcoming. Please govern yourselves accordingly. The appropriate legal action with a letter of complaint to appropriate world authorities will be notified of the genocide committed by this government, registered under the United States government, and that was on our tribal peoples from the inception of the renewed Queen's Bargain sent by Queen Victoria in 1835. Therefore, according to the contracts that were taking place from 1835 and forward are null and void due to those bargains and those contracts being broken. Therefore, when a contract is broken, the contract is null and void. So therefore, we are left with no choice today but to make this announcement and to inform the world that the tribal peoples in this country, the clan mothers, the grandmothers, the women, the children, have had enough. Enough is enough. We are people of this land. We have the right to the same protection as every civil person in this country, that are allowed to enjoy their freedom and liberty, but it can no longer be at our expense. Therefore, I am calling on all of the people in this country to support the call for a Nuremberg No. 3 trial against this current federal government and all the parliament, members of parliament that represents every province and territory in this country. Mercy, Cho. Mercy. My name is Sitanuk Ina Ekwi. In English, it is translated into Yellowknife's woman. Also, I am registered to the federal government as Noeline Villebron. I am revoking my name, Noeline Villebron, and any birth certificate or social insurance number that is attached to my name or any member of my family as being null and void, and that you can no longer generate revenue for your corporation. Not when you are starving our people and you are killing our people off. And this is our truth. Mercy, Cho. And now I will allow the clan mother, Sandra, to read her statement.
Mary Simon, Governor General, Rideau Hall, Sussex Drive. I am informing you of the gross violations leading to the genocidal impacts that continue to this day. Whereas our Nihil have exhausted all avenues in your law system, which leaves me no other options to inform you as head of this Canada Corporation registration number 0000230098 It has continued to fail all its contracts in housing, health, education, its lack of their fiduciary duties of responsibilities leading to genocide. I received the package from Owen Law Firm from Edmonton in reference to Sucker Creek First Nations Treaty 8 Agricultural Benefit Specific Claims Agreement. In response to release, discharge, and forgiveness to the heirs, descendants, past, present, and future of Queen Victoria Canada Corporation registration number 0000230098 and any of its ministers, officials, servants, employees, agents, successors, and assigns, or its past, present, future members of any respective heirs, descendants, legal representatives, successors, and assigns, including First Nations, self-governing First Nations or Indian Act bands, associations, societies, and municipalities. The renewed Queen Bargain of 1835 is no longer valid. The Chief and Council do not have authority to cede or surrender on my behalf past, present, and future generations. They do not have any political or economical say on our behalf. As Cree tribal sovereign signatories, we are the natural law and we have the power and authority over our lands and territory, not duly elected Chief and Council, as they are only the administrative arm of the federal government. Sucker Creek First Nation Agricultural Benefit Settlement Trust between, as represented by its duly elected council, the First Nation, and Royal Trust Corporation of Canada, a company formed pursuant to the Trust and Loans Companies Act, having its registered office in the City of Toronto, Province of Ontario, and authorized to carry on business in Alberta, the trustee. In response to the Royal Trust Corporation of Canada release, forgiveness, and discharge, whereas we, the Nihiau, demand that all tribal territories, its lands, waters, and all its resources reverted to all tribal nations. Canada is a business corporation, a dead entity with no life. In saying that, this corporation cannot own a living organism. Whereas now I comprehend how the system works with regards to these registry numbers, they are being used on the stock exchange, therefore they are no longer to use them for this purpose. I am of legal age and no longer require Canada Corporation to utilize this birth certificate, the certificate of birth B2 88910, registration number 1962-08-003545, social insurance number 632-937-546, treaty number 4560136901. I'm demanding all shares, investment, and profits that are attached to my person to be sent to me. Whereas Gift Lake Métis Settlement, along with 7 other Métis settlements in Alberta and Alberta Aboriginal Relations, committed genocide in the aid of membership termination within each communities, resulting in no access to programs and services, loss of employment, and prevention of employment by way of mandatory checks. Titles to lands revoked, gates being put up to prevent access to our cabins, hunting, fishing, trapping, medicinal harvestings, waterways included, with the threat of prosecution in our own territories and lands. This is an act of cultural genocide. Whereas the Indian Act was created by the people for the people, meaning it was in the best interest of the public and at the expense of all tribal peoples. Canada Institution has committed genocide against all the tribal peoples, children, our elders, and treated with indifference. Whereas new immigrants allowed into our country and gain status after a short period of time. This system has allowed these refugees and newly immigrant civilians to be protected and are elected in political parties. In turn, for control of our trust funds via budget, and this is not acceptable. Whereas a treasonous act that allowed foreigners to take control of our country, our territory. For example, I witnessed Romana Didulo, a member of the Liberal Party, and her entourage, covered in masks during the convoy, drove with their RV motorhomes by the Ark Hotel on 142 Slater Street, Ottawa, in which the driver ran intentionally over a clan mother. Thank goodness the clan mother was pulled out from underneath the vehicle by a witness who happened to be near. This incident was reported to the Ottawa police. The officers took our driver's license for proper names and addresses as they were going to get our statements. No statements were taken. Romano Didiolo proceeded to have her driver go around the block, allowing her to walk up to the Parliament Hill to burn the Canadian flag, declaring herself and claiming to be sovereign of the Republic of Canada and Queen of Canada. Whereas the Ottawa police refused to take statements and to file charges against Romana, this is not a Dominion Republic to be declared Canada as such. It is also treasonous acts towards tribal Nihil, the civilians, the citizens. Whereas this is an act of taking over our country, is a treasonous act, and she must be held accountable for actions and needs to be deported. Whereas Jagmeet Singh, an immigrant, is known terrorist in his country. Jagmeet Singh is unlawfully a party leader of a new Democratic Party who is now a member of Parliament. Mary, I attended a peaceful convoy rally to observe from January 25th to March 2022, while in Ottawa up until Tamara's release from being incarcerated at the Ottawa Detention Centre. An Emergency Measures Act was unlawfully implemented. Tribal Nihil from many nations, citizens and civilians were assaulted by the police, Ottawa police. Whereas Tamara is of tribal descent, the Emergency Measures Act should have excluded her. Mary, just to share with you some of the crimes committed against our tribal Nihil we suffered. Whereas my grandson Titan Storm Badger was executed while saving his two siblings who were shot during a birthday party. The High Prairie RCMP had received statements from people in attendance, yet no arrests were made. The shooters are known to everyone present, no justice. Whereas Jeannie Bear Willier was killed by her estranged boyfriend, no arrests. Whereas Brenda Labucan, another relative, she called the High Prairie RCMP for help. No answer for her pleas for help. She was found in a pool of blood. She was stabbed to death. No justice for Brenda. Whereas my niece Ayla Sarah Oze was only 14 years old. For both Kyla and Ayla went to a friend's house on their way home. They separated packs to see who would make it home first. While Ayla never made it home. No arrest, murder unsolved. During the convoy, as mentioned earlier, I also witnessed something grand unfold before my eyes. I caught a glimpse of what could have been a true reconciliation between tribal Nihil from our many nations, Ottawa civilians and the Canadian citizens. There was joyous laughter in the air and watched residents come out to meet and greet and acknowledgement from different nations. The civilians were so awesome that I had felt safe. Felt safe and protected. And that was short-lived. Rather, a tyrannical government emerged, unlawfully arresting peaceful men, women, taking children away, willfully destroying men's, women's property and trespassing against them. The police violence brought havoc, chaos in the streets caused by the police. Police horses trampled on citizens using their assault weapons. An unarmed civilian is so unacceptable. Mary, you are able and in a position to help our tribal Nihil and all of our guests in this country for the sake of humankind. See reference Sucker Creek First Nations Treaty 8 Agricultural Benefits Specific Claims Settlement Agreement Section 3.0-3.1. Number 3.0 Release. Number 3.1, the First Nation agrees to forever release and forgive and discharge Canada and any of its ministers, officials, servants, employees, agents, successors, and assigns from, and will not assert any liability of proceeding that the First Nation, its successors, or assigns, or its past, present, and future members of any of their respective heirs, descendants, legal representatives, successors, and assigns, including First Nations, self-governing First Nations, or Indian Act bands, may have had, may now have, or may in the future have against Canada and any of its ministers, officials, servants, employees, agents, and successors. Yours truly, Nihia Wisku of Gamasku, Musqueam, also known as Sandra Cunningham Mackenzie.
So
These are the references that I referred to, where they're asking for the release and forgiveness and discharge. Well, this is treason committed by the Indian Act bands and the lawyers putting these books together. They're committing treason on the tribal nations. It's got to stop. Enough is enough. Thank you.
and what this country, through the lawyers, have been ensuring that all the lands are being turned over via modern agreements that are not valid, but are pushed as if they are legal, not under international law. Therefore, we have no option but to do this declaration and notification that what Canada has done is unacceptable. Marcy Cho, Tsitsiata.
Simara Nihia School. Naskum Kumara.